Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall meeting. I'm Emily Shields. A very special welcome to our listeners and viewers on TVJ, JNN, Radio Jamaica, Power 106, OneSpotMedia.com, YouTube, and Gleaner Online. This evening, we're looking at COVID-19 and its impact on tertiary education. What are the issues that the students are facing at this time? We have a number of people who are experts in their field joining us tonight to answer the questions that the students have. In studio, we have Dr. Damian Black. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission. Our other guests who are joining us on the online platform, we have Professor Colin Giles, Acting President of the University of Technology. We have Professor Dale Webber, Principal of University of the West Indies Mona Campus. Everton Rattray, who is the President of the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students, and Executive Director of the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica, Dr. Donna Powell Wilson. Welcome, lady and gentlemen. It's good to have all of you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, welcome. Dr. Damian Black, let me begin with you. Can you explain to me what is the role of the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission?
Yes, and thank you for the invitation. This is appreciated. The Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, JTEC, was established in 2012. It's one of the agencies that emerged from the Government of Jamaica's Education Sector Transformation Program, and specifically with regard to the tertiary education sector. It is designed and it was established to function as a regulator.
Regulator of tertiary education sector?
Yes. The government of Jamaica appreciated that there was a major gap within the sector, namely the extent to which private sector players, institutions could operate, function without necessarily being regulated, save and except if they went to the University Council of Jamaica for accreditation or, for example, NCTVET with respect to the programs offered through that entity by way of certification. So JTEC, if I were to use three words, there would be regulation, registration, and development. Regulation, as I just mentioned, in terms of governing entry and access to the sector. The JTEC has established standards that it uses to assess the credibility, the viability, sustainability of an entity to operate, offer programs.
Okay, so I get you. So I suppose you will have to change regulations post-COVID. I just want to better understand what you're about. Let me try to understand as well what the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students is about from Everton Rattray. Please explain that for me, please, Mr. Rattray.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shields. So the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students is the governing body for the youth, the young people within the tertiary institution. So we're a representative voice for young people within the tertiary institution. So we basically mandated to make sure that the voice in terms of the needs of students are properly represented to the various administration, and not only to the administrations of the various institutions, but is also properly represented as it pertains to the government, reflecting those views that students have as it pertains to what we'd like to see in policies, what we'd like to see on the ground, and just so forth.
Okay, got you. So in this program, listeners, viewers, what we're looking at are issues impacting students who are heading into tertiary institutions, those who are there, and those who are about to leave those institutions. Let me just clear the way, because I know, for example, President of University of Technology, I saw in the Times mid-April that there are a number of universities in the UK. I saw too that some in Australia are asking the various governments for bailout because of the financial impact of COVID on their bottom line. Can you say, Professor Colin Giles, whether the UTech has suffered some financial impact as a result of COVID?
Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Shields, and good night to your listeners. Certainly, the University of Technology, Jamaica, just like other institutions, have been negatively impacted by the COVID-19 situation. We have had to spend additionally to expand our online platform and to facilitate the transition to online teaching for many of our courses. And in addition to that, we have lost revenues that we would normally have expected from students' fees, because the impact of COVID-19 has affected many of our students, their ability to pay fees. And so we have waived some of the fees that we would normally charge, and we have to be lenient in recognizing the challenge that many of our students are facing.
What about you, Professor Dale Webber at UAE? Mona?
Good evening, Ms. Shields and colleagues and to your listeners. So the University of West Indies has a very similar situation as UTEC would have. We have had to waive fees for late registration, fees that students would normally pay to access the online program. Once you're registered, you can access the online program, but without paying, you would never be able to do that. So we've waived those fees and I've given access. Rooms and hall, when we said we were suspending classes, we all thought we were going to do this for a couple of months, or at least 6 or so weeks, but turns out it's for the entire semester. We have allowed students to come and collect their belongings, and those who cannot because they're from other countries, we've just removed the cost because they couldn't come and collect. So we've lost a lot of revenue from our rooms, from our fees. Even students who have owed fees are not coming in to pay until they've re-engaged the system. Some of that is happening now, but we have lost significantly. Added to that, we've lost from our commercial ventures. As you know, the University of West Indies is like a small city. 20,000 students, 3,000 staff. There are 45 food establishments on the campus, most of which are closed, and those would have been revenue earners for the campus. So we've been hit pretty hard. You wanted a bottom line. My Bursa tells me we're somewhere in the region of 600 million behind based on this period.
Does that mean you're in the red?
I'm always in the red.
And you did say a couple of weeks ago you couldn't pay your staff. Will you be able to pay for this month that we are now entering in June?
I'm sure we will be able to. In fact, I'm very surprised that the news is an interesting thing. You say one thing and it's interpreted in another way.
I thought I saw a release from the university.
No. If you read the release carefully, it says, we send out a notice to our staff, not to the media yet, saying, here, we are unlikely to make the payment on Friday. And Monday was a holiday. So we said, let's do it on Tuesday or Wednesday to guarantee that everything will be in place. It was not that we will not pay, we cannot pay. It is that we will not get it all in place for Friday. And we've done this countless times. I don't know why this one was so spectacular. But as it was, we were able to make the payment on Friday, thanks to the government of Jamaica. So we were in a good position, and I think we're grateful for it.
Okay, let me understand from the Executive Director of the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica. How has the bottom line of community colleges been impacted by COVID?
Thank you very much, Emily, for having me here. The CCCJ has supervisory responsibility for 10 institutions in Jamaica now, and I can tell you that the fees that they would collect, that has been severely affected. The community colleges, as you may be aware, has a very reasonable fees offering to students. So our fees, we are not cheap, but we're very affordable. Even with being affordable, our students from time to time will find it difficult to pay the fees. So the institutions would have developed different structures and strategies to collect the fees. So we have fees that are collected per semester and twice in the semester, monthly, and so on. What I'm hearing from the institutions, the principals, the students are just not in a position to pay semester 2 fees. Semester 2 would have ended May 31st. We're also concerned that these students will not be able to pay fees for September 2020. Our students, we have a very unique population, I would say. Our mature students, they would be working in the industry. And those industries that are particularly affected at this time, the tourism industry. So those students, workers, they would have been laid off. Then we have our, what we call our day students or full-time students. They would rely on family members, parents, local and overseas. So we're seeing where there is also a challenge in collecting from those students. So right across the colleges, we are having challenges in collecting the fees, and our students are severely impacted.
We're up on a break. When we come back, the students are going to be putting all of their issues, and we'll seek to get the answers in this virtual town hall focusing on higher education, tertiary education during COVID-19. Stay with us, please.
COVID-19 has significantly affected tertiary education. Universities and colleges have been adjusting to new ways of teaching. So what's the impact on students? Join us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall this Thursday, June 4 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, OneSpotMedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. Send us your questions to 876-381-0072. That's COVID-19 and tertiary education.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on OneSpotMedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water.
We're back with you on this virtual town hall focusing on tertiary education in the period of COVID-19 and after COVID-19. How do we make the adjustments and how quickly? We have a number of people online and one in studio. We have Dr. Damien Black, Professor Colin Giles of UTech. We have Professor Dale Webber of the University of the West Indies, Mona. Everton Rattray, President of Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students. Dr. Donna Powell-Wilson from the Council of Community Colleges, Jamaica. Let's go to a question from one of our young people who has talked about the displacement issues and internet access issues that they're having during this time.
COVID-19 has displaced me from my biological parents' home and has forced me to traverse from their house to persons I now consider to be my adopted parents' house in order for me to access quality internet connection and technologies in order to complete my assessments, assignments, and access online classes. What are the measures put in place for students who fail courses as a result of not having the requisite things they need to complete assignments and assessments during this period?
Professor Giles, can you take that for me, because you mentioned that you've gone online with a number of courses. Children have internet access, students have internet access, that is. Can you answer the question specifically put by this student?
We have made a number of provisions to facilitate our students completing their studies. We have extended the semester so that they have more time to do their assessments. We have circulated resources to facilitate alternative assessments, and we have waived fees and so on to make it possible. However, we recognize that we will not be able to accommodate every challenge that exists. So for example, we might not be able to provide devices for every student who doesn't have a device, or a student who is in a rural community that doesn't have internet access. And so we are not able to provide for every student in that way. However, we try to make concessions and to facilitate students continuing their studies if they are unable to do so at this time.
Continuing how? This is in some other semester?
Yes, that is correct, because most of our modules,
yes,
they are offered multiple times for the year. So if a student is not able to do a module in the second semester, they might be able to do it in the summer, they might be able to do it in first semester, or they might be able to do it next year.
But let me I beg your pardon. Let me come to Professor Dale Webber on that. Is that the same position of UE Mona? Because this has fee implications now, because they're going to have to pay for another semester. How are you doing it with the internet access issues, Professor Webber, at UE?
Thank you. Well, again, we started with a situation of having a 1 month period to try and get all our programs online. Mm-hmm. At the point at which we went to suspended classes, 27% of our lecturers had never gone online. By the time we were ready to restart in April 14th, all were available online. All our programs and all our lecturers had gone online. And many of our students also had gone online. However, just as Dr. Giles or Professor Giles has said, there are some students that had no devices. So So we got into partnerships, and the University of the West Indies Development and Endowment Fund provided 500 tablets, which we made available through our library as a loan. So just as how you would borrow a library book, you could borrow a tablet, which allowed you to access material. All of our material on our platform, which is generated by the UWI, built from the UWI, that platform allowed all lectures to be recorded. So you could then download at any time, 2 in the morning, 3 days after the lecture, a month after the lecture, and we gave an additional month before examinations. So that's the access part. But in terms of if a student is still unable to access, because there are some that will not be able to access without a device or without internet,
yes,
we have also put in place a mechanism which allows them, if you fail, it is not going to count against your GPA. So you'll be able to, again, repeat it. You will have to do over the program,
yes,
but there will be no penalty against your GPAs. So it will not count against your progress, your class of your degree, or anything of that sort. For this semester.
I actually have, just for this semester. I have a question.
Just for this semester.
I have a question on that from Sam Williams, who says, so students are being told, that if they fail courses this semester, it will not be reflected on transcripts. So essentially, not on the GPA, but, says the student, this means that we may still lose credits needed to matriculate or complete our degree. What will be done for students who cannot afford an extra semester or a resit?
There are two different issues there, Emily. One is, if you do a course and you do not pass it, there is going to be a fail on your transcript. There's no way to remove that fail. However, what we're doing is we're removing the scoring so that there is no penalty for having had that fail. Normally, a fail would have attracted a problem to your GPA. Yes. There will be no penalty to that GPA, but you will have a fail because you have not successfully navigated that course. You will be allowed an opportunity to re-navigate without that penalty.
Right. Let me come to Dr. Damian Black. How is your commission regulating this?
May I just ask a question of Professor Weber?
Yes, please.
Professor Weber, the issue of connectivity is a real one. We have seen and we've heard the complaints. There are students who may have registered for courses at UWI, completed, failed, but there are some students who have registered for the courses, are on the course list, etc., for the semester. Due to connectivity, they have not been able to access to do anything. In a context of, I know that the point for dropping a course would have passed, but given the challenges, would this be an option for any of them not able to complete the course by virtue of a lack of connectivity, which might also mean that they can't get in touch with the institution to drop the course? But is there an option where that might be considered?
Yes, there is. Okay. So we monitor constantly what happens on our platform. And in terms of drop courses, we had 837 courses dropped in total in the period. But we had 1,004 courses added. Okay. That means more students added courses than dropped. And I'll explain why in a second. We had 268 students who registered for the first time. That is, they were not in the system, just floating by, but took the opportunity of going online to register. So some students actually prefer this as a method of delivery. But what we opened is we allowed the leave of absence to run for the entire period. So a student can take leave of absence. There was a cutoff date, you are right, but we removed that because we're in unprecedented times. So we found 180 students took that leave of absence, which means they do not pay for that course or they take it for the entire semester. They're not going to pay for that semester. And then we had, unfortunately, I will say, we found 13 students, but 13 out of 20,000, that's great. 13 students took what we call voluntary withdrawal, which is completely withdrew from the institution for one reason or the other. And we're still trying to find those students.
Yes. So the drop course means you don't get a fail.
That's right.
On the transcript.
You don't get a fail and you're not charged for it because you have withdrawn. And we've allowed that withdrawal to be as far down as possible. Right. Exams start in another 2 weeks on the 15th of June. So up to now, a student could still do a leave of absence if they really had to.
Right. So Dr. Donna Powell-Wilson, how are you managing with the internet access issues and the impact on students and exams at community colleges?
Again, the internet, Emily, is a serious challenge for all of us. And more so to our students in the institutions that are in the rural areas. And there are 7 such institutions that would be a part of the Council of Community Colleges. And I must say that the administrators of those institutions, the faculty, they have found creative ways in ensuring that the students are students who they can find are being served. We have found that, well, what we have done is to do remote learning. So lecturers would have found different methods of getting the content to the students, some by WhatsApp, some by videos, some in an online environment using either Moodle or Canvas. So the lecturers really have found creative ways. There are, however, some students who the institutions still have not heard from. They would have reached out to them. They have not heard from them. They would have made contact
what happens
with
to
parents.
those? What happens to those students?
Those students, they will be given the opportunity at no additional cost to finish this semester. That will be either in the summer or when next the course is offered.
Okay, let's hear from...
If the student who is registered for this semester, they're not able to do their exam, we are going to be facilitating them.
Let's hear from a student or a couple of students about their relationship with this online learning platform that we've heard Dr. Powell Wilson speak about.
My name is Carla Atkinson, and I'm a first-year student at the University of the West Indies. Now, school has been closed since March 14th, and we have been having online classes since April 14th. And I must say that online classes aren't the very best for me. It's very hard to stay focused in an online platform. I learn better in a physical space. And to be in an online platform, and to be at home especially, is very distracting. And so I don't feel I have been using my full potential at home in an online platform. Not because the teachers aren't teaching, because the material is still there. It's just that I learn better in a physical space, as opposed to an online platform.
Online school has been brilliant. I hate exams. I'll move from an A+ to a B+ real quick. Once I enter that tent, having invigilators behind me, thinking about doing a 3-hour paper in just an hour, it is just traumatizing. And COVID-19 has given me a release, seeing that I can be in the ambience of my home and just, do things on my timing, and the fact that we're now doing mostly in-course assessment and all of that.
So some like coffee, some like tea. We have a follow-up question from a student. And probably we can just get a feedback from Everton Rattray on this, the president of the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students. They want to find out what mechanisms are there to aid in the mental health capacity of students during and after this period. And we hear some of that coming out in that extract. What can you say to that?
Before I answer that question, Ms. Shields, let me just first address something that was said earlier. In terms of, Professor Weber would have mentioned the removal of late fees / fees dropping and adding of courses. I want to first commend the professor on making that swift adjustment, especially given that students had no control over the situation. And a lot of persons, as mentioned, would be having severe difficulty with accessing the internet and being able to call the phone lines of the various institutions. We have started a petition. We have over 13,000 students who would have signed that petition asking for the removal of late fees / miscellaneous fees. And we're having difficulties with some institutions making some of those adjustments. That is one of the things that we believe every institution, tertiary institution, should at least make some adjustments on, especially given the circumstances. You can't expect persons to be paying late fees. You can't expect persons to be paying fees to add and drop courses, especially at so late in the game, especially due to the circumstances we're facing with COVID-19. So we want to commend, first of all, Professor Weber for making that adjustment. Apart from that as well, we would have met with the Minister of Youth, and what we would have done is we would have lobbied for the possibility of having zero-rated platforms. Also, a lot of work would have been done along on the same line as well by the UN Mona Gill Council as well to have zero-rated platforms. And I can say that we successfully had all tertiary institutions, all public tertiary institutions, public educational e-learning platforms zero-rated, which means they only needed to have a data plan to be able to access these learning platforms. They could download all the content that they need for classes and they can use those platforms.
Right.
So
can I just ask Professor Giles then in relation to UTech, whether late fees and so forth have been dropped as well by UTech?
All late fees have been dropped. Facility fees have been dropped for students who go on payment plans. Those have been waived also. And no student is barred from continuing into the next semester because of fees that are owing for this semester that is running off.
Okay, I want to come back to the Everton Rattray, but there is an issue about mental health, which a student has put in a very interesting way, how mentally rough it is. So let's hear that student before we get a response on that.
The most challenge that I have is the mental challenge that comes with it, because since I started the online class and this whole COVID, I started having panic attacks, which I used to have them before, but not as frequent, right, as now. It's just that I don't think they understand what you go through at this moment. It's scary to be balancing. Yes, it's challenging, it's scary to balance it, the schoolwork at the same time, and a family.
I want to come back to Mr. Rattray, and then I want to hear Dr. Damian Black on this. Mr. Rattray, yes. you get a lot of these issues about mental health, panic attack issues that people are having with the people you interface with at the Institute?
Absolutely. One of the biggest complaints we're getting so far is the lack of ability to adjust to the environment at home. You know, one of the things we have to realize, and I will answer the question shortly, but a lot of persons goes to school as a way of escaping the home environment. You know, a lot of persons describe home as hell. You know, when they get to school, they can go into the library, they get to study, they get to the opportunity to be in that space of comfort and productivity. You know, and a lot of students, from the reports that we have gotten, students, the emails, persons have been saying that they are unable to focus at home. However, one of the things that we have been doing and encouraging persons to do is to try to find a setting, a place within that home that they can find and that they can make their personal space as a way to use to basically to do all work related to school. Not only that, we have also encouraged person to not only do that, but to also engage in practicing the habit of taking frequent breaks, because the home environment and the single space is very difficult for students. But not only that, we have also been encouraging individuals to also engage in trying to have much conversations with friends as well. You know, and to find out how you're dealing with the situation.
Let me hear from Dr. Damian Black. How can the Commission assist with this now? Somebody wants to know what are the mechanisms there to aid mental health capacity during this period. What can your Commission do? Certainly.
One of the standards that we have speaks to student support services. Now, Dr. Donna Powell Wilson, a guest on the program, the CCCJ, they would have regulation standards that also speak to student support services. The University Council of Jamaica, accreditor, they also have standards that speak to this area. It's critical, it's understood as being a major facet for student success. One of the things that has emerged from conversations surrounding this COVID-19 crisis has been that the institutions themselves recognize the need to beef up their staff complement in this area. And we use the term guidance counselors, could be clinical psychologists, you name it. But so proposals have been shaped, discussed, and shaped. And the thinking is to seek to have, and from the public sector institutions, to seek to have the government address, out of the resources available, if at all possible, expansion of the staff in this area to speak to some of these issues. One of the things that we have got to appreciate as well is the fact that many of the challenges would be financial related.
Right.
The extent to which you have heard fees have not been paid and so on. Many persons, and Everton and I had a conversation about this, sorry, Mr. Rattray.
That's fine.
But we had a conversation about this in terms even of the students who would go away in the summer. Some of them, I asked him, is it that, for example, if they went to some of these agencies, how did they finance the payment of the fees to be admitted to the program? Some of them would have taken loans. How do they pay those loans if they can't go away? This sort of thing. So those are added burdens. So the challenges are real.
Right.
And JUTs, we know, are active
Yes.
with regard to their network of student support leaders.
But some of these support mechanisms would require face-to-face interaction, or are they tweaking it now to do
Yes.
over the phone
Yes,
counseling
it has
kind
to
of?
it has to involve that. Because the student populations on each campus or with each entity
Yes.
spread throughout Jamaica.
Okay.
And so critically, what you have here is the fact that they have got to do the technology to mediate some
Right.
of these challenges.
Let me go to a break. Thank you so much for staying with us. When we come back, more on this virtual town hall. We're talking tertiary education in a time of COVID-19.
We have a few challenges that the students are grappling with, and they are as follows. 1, reduced motivation in learning independently. 2, social and physical distancing, which, as we know, we are all emotional beings, and interaction is critical in our lives. Many students, they have built their lives on campus, and to know that your friends, your lecturers, and your close companions are not around, then you know that is going to affect you psychologically.
We provided transportation for students to get home, all 14 parishes, free of cost. This was necessary because the university passed a policy that all local students would have to leave campus by March 13th. Nutritional aid, thus far we have received about $4 million in sponsorship from numerous donors. We were able to provide food supplies to students, not just on campus, but also commuting students as well. And then we moved on now to online learning platforms, which I think was one of our biggest wins as a Guild Council. We were able to effectively lobby the government and the two main internet service providers in Jamaica, Flow and Digicel, to provide zero-rated access to online learning platforms, as well as subsidized data plans.
COVID-19 has significantly affected tertiary education. Universities and colleges have been adjusting to new ways of teaching. So, what's the impact on students? Join us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall this Thursday, June 4 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, OneSpotMedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. Send us your questions to 876-381-0072. That's COVID-19 and tertiary education.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on OneSpotMedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with the cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center.
Back with you. Thank you for staying with us on this virtual town hall, looking at matters affecting tertiary students, those who are about to go in, those who are in there, those who are about to come out. It's a myriad of issues. We know, for example, that the CXC and the Jamaican government and the various governments across the Caribbean have had an issue dealing with the date for the exams. It was July 27, now it is up to July 13, and those grades will be coming at a particular time. So one student wants to find out, in light of CXC examinations being pushed back, will students matriculating to tertiary institutions come September be jeopardized, and when will our first semester start? Professor Weber, can you take that for me? The grades you're getting from CXC for CAPE and CSEC, with the future of the students be jeopardized because of the times that those are coming?
The students will not be jeopardized. In fact, we keep working, not just the University of the West Indies, the entire education system is working towards the betterment of students and working to try and give them the best possible opportunity. I think each institution has to do its own testing and measuring to decide how it implements. But at the UWI, because we're a regional institution, we've done the same thing now across all our campuses. And what we've done is we've, using data, determined that if a student has a CXC pass and has Unit 1 of CAPE and has that Unit 1 of CAPE with a 1, 2, or 3 in terms of a pass, and is sitting Unit 2 of that CAPE, we are making an automatic offer to that student as if they've already passed that second unit. So we're not waiting on the CAPE results to make the offers. Because we found that 97% of the students who sat Unit 1 and passed it with 1, 2, and 3 were successful at Unit 2 in some way, shape, or form.
Yes, I've heard that. What about the CSEC students, though, who don't have CAPE 1?
Well, CSEC students would not normally matriculate into the UWI. They would go through our community colleges system, one of our sister entities. And Donna might be able to tell you more about what happens there. But we would take the CAPE as our entry requirement for most of our students.
Right.
We do take a few with just CSEC.
Yes.
Most of our entries are through CAPE.
Just before we hear from UTEC, let me hear how the student has put it in terms of the relaxed requirements for matriculating to the university.
My name is Fabian Morris and I am a grade 13 student of Jamaica College. Seeing that the University of the West Indies, and I'm guessing that UTEC and other universities will follow suit, are beginning to relax the terms of matriculation into their esteemed universities. You know, is it a case where the upcoming exams are now no longer valid, you know, or needed or vital, you know, because they're opting to use CSEC grades plus your CAPE Unit 1 grades?
Professor Giles? Professor Giles, you're there, from acting president of UTEC? I'd love to hear on that.
Muted.
All right, you are muted, so yeah, unmute and come.
I'm so sorry. Yes. We have relaxed our matriculation requirements also. UTEC usually accepts students coming straight from CSEC for 4-year degrees, and there are some degrees that require CAPE 1 and 2. So we will accept CAPE 1 for those, and those who have registered to do CSEC subjects, on the basis of the subjects that they are registered to do, they will be accepted. However, normally, when students matriculate and they register as regular students, there are prerequisites that they must satisfy in order to move on from one stage to another. And so for students who are coming in without the grades, the prerequisite rules will be adjusted so that they will have a minimum of 2 years to complete the requirements in terms of the original requirements for matriculation. And there are support systems through the UTEC Academy that will ensure that students are supported so that even if they did not come through fully in the first year, with the support, they are able to complete the matriculation requirements so that no student will graduate without having completed the basic matriculation requirements that the university would normally require.
Is there a difficulty, Dr. Damien Black, where the generation before and perhaps the generation after will be looking at this generation to whom a lot of chances have had to be given because of COVID, and so won't see the degree with the requisite prestige that it is supposed to be seen?
No, I don't think so. The issue is the institutions. If I've heard Professor Weber, Professor Giles correctly, what they have said is they have looked at the data. The individuals who are successful at for example, CAPE 1, more than likely go on to prove their merits at CAPE 2. The critical thing, though, is this. What are the processes designed to ensure the successful outcomes when the students come in.
Right.
So the teaching learning process, the student support services, the policies related to how the student is allowed to finance his or her time, the extent to which those adhere to the standards, the students will succeed. And it therefore should not be seen, neither the qualifications that they exit with, be seen as less than, because the institution cannot veer from the standards with regard to the students once they're in.
Right. And then as you mentioned that, Dr. Black, Professor Weber, the thought that just popped into my head, you've really got some really late bloomers for whatever reason.
That's right.
So you may not have passed CAPE 1. Can you move on to doing CAPE 2 if you don't pass CAPE 1?
That depends on each subject. There are some subjects which will allow you to do CAPE 2 and then go back for CAPE 1. One is a prerequisite for the other, but in many subjects, you do Unit 1 and then Unit 2.
Right.
We are willing to accept them either way, by the way, because if you've done Unit 2 and then go back for Unit 1, we are willing to accept that, because the data shows that it's just about the same. It is the ability of the student that's performing.
Oh, so they just need to pass any one of those for you to take them?
And be registered for the other. I just want to correct what the students, their impression.
Yes,
it is not that it is no longer required or it's null and void. It is that you should be registered and you should try and complete that second CAPE. It is the expectation that you will complete on which we're making the offer.
Right. Dr. Donna.
But we're not waiting on the result.
So you will send out your offer letters to the students about when then?
They have been going out. They have already been going out.
Oh. Yes, Dr. Black?
Then Professor Weber, may I just ask this question then? In the unlikely event that they are not successful at CAPE Unit 2, what happens to the students whom you have already admitted?
Well, as Professor Giles just said, we would then have to flag those students and do the remediation that we think required in order for them to successfully access and process through our first year program.
Okay. But I think this conversation has been very good, though, because I think what's out there is different to what he has just said.
So when they do the remedial, that means an extra year at university?
It depends, again, on what they're doing, because let us say in our first year program, some first year programs require 3 subjects, some require 5. It is unlikely that they're going to have a failure across all 5. So they may have one that they need to get a remedial work on, or one of the 3 or one of the 5. So we'll be able to, from the results, be able to handpick and say, well, you'll come in, you'll do the first year, but you're going to do an extra semester of something. Because we have semesters which actually match Unit 1 or Unit 2 of various subjects. Much of our first year programs for many of our faculties are the equivalent to Unit 1 or 2 in terms of the precursors.
Right. So Dr. Donna Powell-Wilson, let me hear how you are managing at the community colleges with the CSEC dates for exams and so forth, and whether any student is going to be compromised.
I will say, Emily, that at the community colleges, we accept you where you are, just as you are, and we take you to where you want to go. So no student will be turned back because of his or her matriculation status. If they do not meet the matriculation requirements, we have always, and we'll continue to work with those students. We have some of our institutions have started to issue offer letters to students. The students who will be sitting their CSEC exams in a few weeks, and with the results coming out September, thereabout, we will have a space for them as well. Or entry, the programs we have in the institutions, Emily, they're so designed that we can accept the students at that time and work with them so that they can complete their associate degree within the stipulated period, all things being equal.
Okay.
So just recently, Council approved where we have a block schedule. So that could be applied to those students where we look at a 6-week semester, which would mean that they do less courses within that semester. We utilize our summer semester. So we have things in place for the students who are sitting their CSEC exam So there'll be no issue there for them to enter one of our institutions.
We're up on another break. Stay with us, viewers and listeners, when we come back. More on this virtual town hall.
COVID-19 has significantly affected tertiary education. Universities and colleges have been adjusting to new ways of teaching. So, what's the impact on students? Join us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall this Thursday, June 4 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, OneSpotMedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. Send us your questions to 876-381-0072. That's COVID-19 and COVID-19 has significantly affected tertiary education. Universities and colleges have been adjusting to new ways of teaching. So, what's the impact on students? Join us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall this Thursday, June 4 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, OneSpotMedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. Send us your questions.
Now affecting tertiary education and seeing how the responsible people have just made ways to accommodate some of the concerns arising. Prof Weber, somebody wants to know, Sue wants to know, what are the considerations for students who applied for programs like law that usually require Unit 2?
So programs that require both units, such as law, medicine, we're talking about those that are competitive. So you may be qualified, but not competitive. And without Unit 2, you are not going to be as competitive as those who have Unit 2. Limited spaces, and of course a higher cost. But law, engineering, medicine, etc., you would want to have your Unit 2s in place. So I would suggest you either get the Unit 2 and then do an application. I still think, and Donna will agree, that the community colleges are a wonderful way to beef up on your basic foundation before you tackle the tertiary education.
Professor Jazz, what is happening at UTech with that? Do you need Unit 2 for law?
You would need both units, but if you are registered for Unit 2, you will be considered depending on the spaces. As Professor Weber said, there are some programs that are very competitive, and if there are persons who are more qualified than you are, they will get the space.
Michelle, if I may, I do believe the opportunity should be given to those students who the circumstances of COVID-19 will not be able to complete Unit 2 within a specific period, but I know that the acceptance are also on the basis of if they have completed Unit 2 within this set date for examination, they should be able to be accepted. I hope that's what Professor Weber is saying. Just the same, they have an equal chance to get acceptance on that basis, and not the case where persons who are now doing Unit 2 are not being considered in this process.
That's correct. Remember, we're talking about there's a slight difference between qualified and competitive.
But Mr. Professor, if you look
let
at the
finish.
number of persons.
Mr. Ratchet, just let him finish the thought.
Now, I'm just saying that qualified means that you would have the requirements and you would be given the same kind of entry as anybody else. If we're looking at the mechanism for entry, then you would normally have both capes. If you have one and you're sitting the other, then we would give you the entry, but the entry therefore is qualified by something else in terms of, are you competitive? There are 800 students applying for 150 spaces in medicine. So you're talking about the best of the best of the best of the best. So it isn't that they're going to be ruled out. In fact, what we would do with a student who has not been able to access one of the programs of their choice, we would offer them another faculty to have them spend a year to gain that competitive advantage to be able to enter. It isn't that we wouldn't offer them a space. It may not be a space in the place that they would like based on competitiveness, but they would be offered a space as long as they qualify.
There's an issue that a number of concerns have been raised that I need to touch on with you, Professor Weber, in particular, UWI School of Nursing. We understand that lecturers and course coordinator refuse to change clinical exams to written exams or analytical case studies where similar assessments can be had. Is that correct?
That is not my information. In fact, I just spoke with the Dean of Medical Sciences this morning, and himself and the head of School of Nursing have assured me that the medical program, although we know we've had to step back, because first of all, we took the nurses out of harm's way because we didn't know, nobody knew enough about the COVID. And in order to get the program where we wanted, we had to take a step back. But we have put programs online and we have looked at assessment methods and we have engaged. In fact, there is a meeting tomorrow of the town hall meeting with all the School of Nursing, the UH School of Nursing, to address a lot of those issues. And communication is the key. And I think they just wanted to have some more communication, and they can have their views aired tomorrow. There is a meeting set to deal with those details with Ms. Monroe and with Dr. Paul.
Let me ask you another question for those who may not be at the meeting. The head of school, we understand, cannot confirm if there will be additional tuition fees if final year nursing students are to remain for another semester. Can you confirm that?
We are in discussion. In fact, again, we had that discussion. It is our opinion that if the tuition has not, that is the content delivery has not changed in terms of what's been taught, the timing has been changed, then there should be no additional charge. But if there are additional things that are brought on, then we would have to figure out what are the charges. For instance, let's say we're looking at nursing and we want to put nurses back into the program as quickly as possible. We must now get PPEs as a part of the routine nursing program. We think we should be trying to absorb as much of those costs, but there are some personal items that we may say, not a PPE, but something else that the nursing fraternity may say, you need this as a personal item. And we will be willing to share the cost on those. But for the tuition, if the time is extended, and it is not the fault of the student, we could not ask the student to pay more on that.
Right. Graduation in 2020 for the cohort, for who are supposed to graduate this year?
We are working our best. Those who should have graduated in July, August, we are working towards a graduation. But when I say graduation, we mean completion. We're working towards a completion by November. Right. The graduation exercise, that whole graduation exercise with 4,000 people sitting in the tent, everybody walking across the stage and shaking the chancellor's hand. We're thinking about that one really hard.
Yeah, maybe not now. I'm going to invite into the virtual town hall now Shelley Gay Koff, who is Director, Career and Employment Services at the NCU, Northern Caribbean University, because there's a lot of uncertainty about what the future will look like. Can I thank you so much, Shelley Gay Koff, for joining me?
And thank you for having me, Mrs. Shields. I'm happy to be here this evening, and good evening to your listeners and your viewers.
Right. So can we just go to how the student has put this about what the working world will look like post-COVID?
My biggest concern as a finalizing student is what will the working world look like for me going forward. So while I've been home, I've taken up editing, so I've learned how to edit videos and audio a little better than I was doing in school. But going forward, I'm not sure what the working world is going to look like.
Let's begin with you on that, Ms. Koff. Do you have an answer? What will the world look like, and are we really preparing our students now for the future?
Oh my goodness, Mrs. Shields, I feel like I'm being put on the spot to be Miss Cleo right now. I wish I could exactly what it's going to look like, but I'll tell you this. I know that at this time, final year students are experiencing a lot of panic, a lot of uncertainty when it comes down to employment prospects, and especially during this time. But I want to encourage every student tonight that no is not the time to panic. No is the time to think creatively, to be innovative, and to be deliberate about planning. And so when I hear a question like that, immediately what comes to mind is an era that looks almost like the Jetsons. I don't know if you remember cartoons from Hanna-Barbera.
Yes.
The Jetsons, where everything, because that's how it looks now. We've just moved away from the Flintstones era to now the Jetsons era in like this.
Yeah.
And so, we're seeing where, listen, we've moved in a flash. Our methods of learning will now have to move at that same pace. Flash. So listen, based on our research, based on what we're hearing, we're encouraging students to plan. As a matter of fact, let me share with you what our office, Career Services, has been encouraging students to do. I've given it we've given it the acronym PDIM, planning, design, implementation, then maintenance. So with planning, we are preparing for the future. So we're gathering information. What do we know about COVID so far? We know that there are persons who are losing jobs. But we also know that there are persons who have been gaining employment and who have been earning, who have been able to create entrepreneurship, or put possibilities for themselves. But there are certain requirements in order to survive during this pandemic. So we know students, we're going to, and final year students especially, you're going to have to now develop on your communication skills. We have to up it several notches. The ability to think strategically. Businesses are now looking at your soft skills even more than your hard skills. What's up? Everyone has a degree. Most persons have a degree. We're not looking for degrees. We're looking for your ability. How well are you able to fit? Your fitment much more than your qualifications.
Right.
So we're looking at your ability to adapt. How are you adaptable? Your flexibility, your tech savviness, your creativity, your ability to think critically, to analyze, leadership skills. I'm emphasizing the soft skills here. Your emotional intelligence. What is your commitment to lifetime learning?
But then the question is, how can some of those things be judged from a distance, which is sort of what the world will look like? You may be here in Jamaica, but you're working online for a company in Australia. Let me hear Dr. Damien Black on that, because just a second, how do the students prepare, Dr. Black, for the job market? Has your commission got an answer?
What we're doing right now is we had this discussion in our management meetings, and one of the things that we have done is two things. One, for the individuals who will continue in education, we are doing a lot of research to expand our scholarship database so that we can at least provide that information. But secondly and critically, as you just mentioned in passing, that one of the things that will be paramount, and I mean, this is an employer's space.
Yeah.
The persons, they have the proverbial handle. The ones out there who will have to be circling to see what can they get from the income thing. One, the internet, as you just mentioned. The extent to which they will have to engage the virtual space to seek employment and income generating opportunities. And we are developing a series of seminars and webinars that will speak critically to that. You mentioned about in response to Mrs. Cuffs at NCU, the whole issue of the soft skills. She is absolutely correct. These have emerged above all contending factors with regard to how you will be engaged, employed, or earn. And so the extent to which, again, an entity such as ourselves, JUTS, in collaboration with JUTS, can sponsor these webinars that will assist in the development. We have another project that we are working on called Ready Up. This will be more for high school students transitioning into the universities in terms of their career readiness, career preparation, and so on. What are the areas of activity that they should be looking to?
Right.
So critically, it is just getting information out there through persons who are experienced and who are actually doing and doing so successfully, whether it be internet income generation or the whole matter of accessing the careers.
We're coming up on a break, Everton Ratch. We'll come back to this because you mentioned webinars as well. So it's going to be a lot of webinars, a lot of online platform, a lot of expanded learning therefore online. So let's drill that down a little bit more and find out from the professors whether that will mean a decrease in tuition fees because your physical plant is not going to be used as it would if contact was face-to-face. Stay with us, please.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much.
COVID-19 has significantly affected tertiary education. Universities and colleges have been adjusting to new ways of teaching. So, what's the impact on students? Join us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall this Thursday, June 4 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, OneSpotMedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. Send us your questions to 876-381-0072. That's COVID-19 and tertiary education.
We're back with you in this virtual town hall focusing on tertiary education. Have representative from Jamaica Tertiary Commission, Dr. Damian Black, Professor Colin Giles, Acting President, UTEC, Professor Dale Webber, President of UWI-MONA, Everton Rattray, President of the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students, Dr. Donna Powell-Wilson from the Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica. She's the Executive Director and Director of Career and Employment Services at the NCU. So the tertiary institutions in Jamaica are sufficiently represented. So we're talking online for the most part. Professor Colin Giles, are you in this new dispensation going to be moving to a lot more online classes, or do you expect when the COVID issue subsides with perhaps some kind of vaccine that you're going to move back to more face-to-face contact with the students?
We have embraced the new era of online learning. We have been doing online learning, but we are expanding it so that even after COVID-19 has passed, we will be having more online than we would have had before. We will not be able to eliminate face-to-face because, as you know, UTEC has been known for producing graduates who are hands-on, who do a lot of practical subjects and courses. And so we will not be able to eliminate face-to-face. Practicals and clinicals and certain practical elements that require workplace training and so on will have to continue. However, the online modality is the modality in which most of our modules will be delivered. And we encourage our students to embrace this new reality.
What about you, Professor Dale Webber at UWI?
We had always had a goal to try and have as many of our programs online as possible. It is strange that it took something like COVID to allow us to get there and get there in one semester or in 4 weeks. But so you heard one of your students earlier say that she didn't learn as well. She wants to be face-to-face.
Yes.
There are a range of students, and you have to meet students where they are. So the University of the West Indies will never be a completely online only, or from here on, will never be a completely face-to-face only. We will have mixed modes all the way through, and we've had various programs and various courses have been online. So we'll be doing both. As Colin says, there's some things that you have to do face-to-face. There's some things it's almost impossible to do online. But the online does offer you an opportunity to increase the cadre of students that you want to have. Students who want to stay in Savlamar and do a program.
Yes.
So you can do a lot more.
Talk about Savlamar. Yes, my hometown. Yeah. Get it out to all of them.
I didn't know that, but yes. There we go. Now you should be able to do either the first year, if you wanted to do a first year suite of courses, and then go to a campus, or you may find a program that's completely online, depending on the nature of the course and what you're doing. What we have been forced to do by COVID is to go online. Now I want to make one quick clarification. What we have done, and I think all my colleagues will agree with this, is we all have done emergency remote teaching.
Yes.
Online is a slightly different thing, and you're gonna need a lot more digital transformation. You're gonna need you're gonna have to have the possibility of reaching everybody where they are and leveling that playing field. We've all done different things to try and do that, but we're not quite there. So we still have goals to work towards, and we're gonna do that. And this online is our goal in the end.
Yeah, Dr. Powell-Wilson, your teachers at the community colleges and the universities as well, do they even know how to properly manipulate this online to teach the students?
Some of them do, Emily, and out of every challenge, you can find at least one opportunity. And that is something that we have embraced at the council and within the community colleges.
Yeah.
So coming out of this experience, and as Dale said, we were forced into this. So we did remote learning. We are looking at, as a council, to offer online teaching and learning. And this is going to be fully online as well as hybrid, which is blended.
Yes.
So we have partnered with, you asked about our lecturers, are they prepared? We have partnered with Commonwealth of Learning. And Monday of next week, we will be training approximately 200 lecturers and administrators, principals, in flexible skills development. That's a strategic course when you're taking on online learning. We'll be having 2 other training sessions for faculty who will be delivering the program online. And then September, when we roll out the programs, we'll be having training for students, because these students, they now need to know if they are suited for online learning.
Right. Let me hear from Everton Rattray, who wanted to come in, because I think you may have a concern about the fees as well and the impact of online learning on fees. Should the fees be lowered?
Absolutely. I mean, just to backpedal to the question that asked the young lady from the career services at NCU.
Yes.
The reality is that there will be no young people to employ if we don't figure out how we're going to graduate. And right now, the reality is that we have no means of income, and we're trying to figure out. We have over 8,000 young people who have been impacted, who normally take part in the work and travel program on a yearly basis, to pay their tuition, which means that we're not just talking about that 8,000 young people who go on the work and travel, but we're talking about another 40,000 young people who are still unable to figure out how they're going to pay for the upcoming semester. Now, one of the things, Mrs. Shields, an increase in tuition is definitely not a feasible reality right now for us young people. But apart from that, we're also calling on the government to understand that at this point, the Students' Loan Bureau needs to establish a COVID-19 relief fund. A COVID-19 relief fund that is going to assist those 40,000 young people who are unable, who have no idea how they're going to pay for their final exams, who are going to pay for even accommodation or anything of that nature for the upcoming year. So just to speak to that, which means that fund needs to have probably about, if you're looking at 40,000 people and you're looking at probably an average person about 300,000 being their tuition per year, it means that fund need at least $12 billion to assist those 40,000 students, and that is urgently needed because there's nobody to employ if we can't figure out how we're going to pay for those exams.
Mrs. Koff, you have a thought on that? Because you're into career planning, but if they can't even get to finishing a degree, then the planning of the career has to be stalled. Mrs. Koff?
I'm so sorry, Mrs. Shields, I missed that.
Yes, what Mr. Rattray is saying, a lot of students who would go on work no longer have that option because of the COVID-19, and Students' Loan Bureau will need a particular COVID kind of relief. I'm asking if you have a thought on that, since you're into career development and planning, but if they can't finish a degree because of financial constraints, then there's no point in even planning the career. How do they manage that?
No, don't think like that. I want them to think like that, because
please correct me.
There are so many students right now who have even dropped out even prior to COVID, who are able to earn. Who are able to earn because they've found creative ways, using the internet to earn. They've found some way to develop on their skill sets. What are their areas of interest? And there are many times when their interests that they are earning from aren't really in line with what they're pursuing at university. And so they're thinking, with skill sets that they have, natural skills that they have, they're able to earn. For example, there are, my daughter, for example, can I share this? My daughter, she's 3 years old. She enjoys listening to this lady on YouTube. She is a pre-trained teacher. Well, she hasn't completed her degree yet in teacher education, but she has a thriving channel on YouTube where she does these creative very engaging videos, and she has been earning from it. And I mean, with what she's earning far more than what, she would probably earn if she were in a physical classroom. And so she's even motivated to continue pursuing her skills. There are just a lot of possibilities and potential.
Not to cut you, but to be real, and I honestly want to speak because there are a lot of young people on the go, and as somebody on the go, what you're speaking about in entirety will not assist the difficulty we are facing currently as students. We are unable to find the tuition for the upcoming semester.
And there are
Emily?
Just a moment. I want to hear Everton Rattray, because this is really, he's getting the feedback from the student. Finish your point, Mr. Rattray.
Right.
In our recent meeting, in fact, with not a meeting, just general conversations with the first president, students are at their wits' end in figuring out what is next.
No family, no father, no mother to help with.
No family, no father who have been laid off because of the COVID-19 impact. Not to mention the amount of students who their family would have been in the tourism industry, and to mention how much tourism revenue would have bring into the country. The reality is that if we don't establish that fund urgently, we're going to likely to see a very high decrease. Let me not put it that way. There's going to be a high decrease, let me just put it that way, in the amount of persons who are going to be leaving for the tertiary space, who are going to be graduating this year. Not only that, we will have a low amount of persons for employment, which will automatically impact the work world itself. Not only that.
And some mental issues as well. Let me hear which professor was coming in there, because even on YouTube, the point you raised, Mrs. Scuff, you need 1,000 subscribers before you can monetize. It takes time to build up, so that is not an immediate solution to the problems. But let me hear Professor who was trying to come in, please, Mrs. Scuff.
My comment, Emily, was I'm agreeing with Everton, but we need to explore. And in fact, Emily, your next program, I'm going to encourage you should get the Students Loan Bureau in here, because I've been talking with Nicholas Scott and a couple other people at the Students Loan Bureau, and they are working to try and make more funds available. They have a plan, in fact, to remove one of the guarantors, so it becomes far easier to make the repayments a lot easier over time. So there are things that are happening, but we're not hearing about them. And when I spoke to Nicholas about it, I was very surprised, and I told him, well, full speed ahead, because only 23% of UWI students apply for a student's loan. I think Colin will tell you at UTech it's probably about 30-35. Students need to see this as an opportunity to an investment in themselves. But we are a debt-shy set of people, and unless we're going to see a return on it, we don't want to go there. So I'm saying Everton is right. We need to make more available, but more is being made available. But we need the opportunities to come to the fore.
Right. We're up on a break. The last segment. Make sure for the next segment you throw it all in. I know it's a lot of issues to this still, but stay with us, please.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much.
COVID-19 has significantly affected tertiary education. Universities and colleges have been adjusting to new ways of teaching. So, what's the impact on students? Join us for another RJRGleaner Group virtual town hall this Thursday, June 4 at 8:30 p.m. on TVJ, JNN, OneSpotMedia.com, The Gleaner Online, Radio Jamaica, Power 106 FM, and TVJ's YouTube channel. Send us your questions to 876-381-0072. That's COVID-19 and tertiary education.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with the cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.
We're back with you, final segment of this virtual town hall. A lot of issues, we really have to change or we die. That is just life, and this is something that is unprecedented. Dr. Damian Black, Chief Executive Officer of the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, you had a comment on the student loan matter and concerns from students.
Yes. On the Student Loan Bureau, I know that there have been many proposals that have been put on the table, sent to the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information and the Ministry of Finance with regard to how that might be used as a vehicle to assist the students,
yes.
As Everton spoke to. Professor Earl Morrison, who is the chairman of the University Council of Jamaica and of JTEC's advisory board, spoke to a proposal that that they sent. Professor Weber spoke to the possibility, as heard from them, but one guarantor being dropped. Could the government of Jamaica be that guarantor? But also, the Prime Minister himself has spoken in the past to measures to reform it, to invest, as opposed to guarantors, invest that loan and that debt in the individual. And, of course, with respect to the credit bureaus and so on that exist now, then that remains with that individual until cleared. On the matter of online learning, we can't forget the quality imperative. The issues that you raised about the student nurses, and Professor Weber spoke to them. The UA, UTEC, the CCCJ, NCU as well, they relate to the Nursing Council of Jamaica for those programs. The whole issue of how students migrate and work and function within that profession. So the quality assurance has got to be, quality assurance principles have got to be adhered to, and the institutions have to ensure, because not everything can be moved online. Some things can be done, simulation, augmented reality, a whole host of technologies that are emerging. But what must not be forgotten is that the institutions are at a place where they have been forced into this domain. Some of them are not really fully online. But one of the things they have put on the table is a whole raft of measures to say, well, okay, we need some assistance to transition properly. As you said about the challenges in moving from COVID without a vaccine, if that is not here in a reality, this whole method of distance online learning is going to be with us for a long time. The quality has got to step up. And so essentially it's going to take a collaborative effort to treat with the issues related to the Student Loan Bureau, but also funding to provide additional staff, to provide the technologies, the assessment of the platforms, what is appropriate given X, Y, and Z. And the other critical thing about online is that we must never forget those who are what's the appropriate term now? Blind, hearing impaired persons, those communities, because they're students, vulnerable. Thank you. But those people who are not able to access as persons who are able to. So, as I said, these measures, these responses have got to acknowledge and treat with as we go forward.
Right. Mrs. Koff, I don't want you to think that we have discarded your suggestion because it can work for some. And it is actually working for some. So is there any other that you would want to tap into for those who don't have access to online, don't have the time to build up their subscribers, and who have an immediate need and perhaps are losing hope in terms of their career and development?
I just wanted to share, Mrs. Shields, now having a better understanding of what Everton was speaking to a few moments ago. Our university has been helping our students, particularly those who have been severely affected during this pandemic, in creating or launching a mediathon just 2 weeks ago, raising some funds, US funds, to help these persons who have been affected, the ones who have no place to go but who are remaining on dorms, the ones who are having financial issues paying their tuitions, name it, the most vulnerable ones. Our institution has considering in a very, through the Alumni Federation, very seriously how to tangibly assist our students at NCU.
So you're doing that. That's good. A student has a concern about transportation fares and actually going back to the physical plant, which is going to happen at some point in time. Let's hear that student.
When are we going back to school, like physically going back to school? It's September, January next year when?
I think young people are worried. They have to be traveling on public transportation to and from. They have to go to school mixing with people coming from all over. We don't know what they have. And so this is a concern that we have for our young people. We are totally afraid, and that's the truth, afraid of what is to come. We are being told to brace for a spike, an increase in the cases that we are seeing right now, and we just don't know how this will impact us.
Professor Jazz, when are they going back to school at UTEC?
Well, we are being guided by the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the government's disaster risk management orders in terms of how to treat with the situation as it unfolds. We do not know exactly how it will unfold. However, we are targeting to have face-to-face resume in September. Hopefully, this will be a reality. But as I said before, online will be the way to go for courses that can be offered online. Those that cannot be offered online, we will facilitate these being offered face-to-face with the social distance, physical distancing arrangements in place, and so on. But I just want to strongly encourage our students not to postpone their studies. Seek the assistance that is needed through the Students' Loan Bureau. Let the Students' Loan Bureau speak for itself in terms of having any inability to finance you, but do not assume that you cannot get a loan. Go ahead and make the arrangements so that you can pursue your studies.
Right. Let me hear a student who's asked about, the resilience aspect of life during COVID. I want to put that to Professor Weber.
What are the ways that we plan to explore going forward to ensure that resilience is built into our education system so that if something like this occurs again, we are better prepared?
Prof?
Resilience is an interesting word to use, and it operates at a number of levels. So the University of the West Indies has, just as we did with all the other situations before us, for this COVID, we have a COVID-19 task force chaired by Pro Vice Chancellor Landis, which is again looking at the entire Caribbean. And we have taken our medical faculty, our social sciences faculty, our science and technology, our humanities, our CARIMAC, all our entities in terms of their teaching and research have taken on new dimensions to try and make not just us as an institution more resilient, but how can we get that resilience through the wider population so that they all learn. So it starts with education, but you have to have the research to be able to do it. We are working on vaccines. We're working on mechanisms that we can use for testing. So there are a number of things that we'll be able to help the countries of the Caribbean make their decisions and the right decisions. But I think a lot of it has to do with our personal decisions and how we behave. As long as we know what we're doing, we can improve our own resilience, and then we build that out through our communities, through our countries, and through the region.
Irrespective of when it is that you have physical opening of the schools, when we watch what's happening with the Ministry of Health and so forth, have you already communicated to the students the protocols for wearing masks, physical distancing, and so forth, Professor Weber?
So we having the Prime Minister just not renew the work from home order, we have started a phased reopening. So we're in phase 1 now of our reopening, where only certain buildings, only certain sections of the university, the registry, the bursary, the principal's office, deputy principal's office, those areas are opening, and we have put in place the masks, the thermometer checks, the sanitizing, the social physical distancing. So those are already being done, and other areas are being retrofitted. We want to have our estate management, our facilities management, our health center. Those are being done this week. So we will do another phase next week. We will not get to the student reopening until somewhere down perhaps in July or August when we prepare that phase. But the university has to complete the current semester. That's our primary goal, getting these students to graduate so they can get to the workforce. Then we will talk about next year's reopening. And you've asked Colin about a date. We're working on a September date as well. Right. I can tell you next week what that exact date will be, but the earlier the better, based on how we would like to resume normalcy in this new normalcy.
Dr. Powell Wilson, how are you at the community colleges of Jamaica building in resilience into your system with this COVID?
I want to agree with Dale that first, resilience has to be a personal decision, and it is upon all of us to take that responsibility as we go forward. I also want to say, Emily, that the community colleges we have sought permission from the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information to have what I would call a soft opening. A number of our programs would have a practical component, so the students would be required to do practical examinations. For many reasons, the students were not able to do these outside, even though we would have suggested ways in which it could be done.
Yes.
They can't afford it, they don't have the resources and things like that. So the minister has granted us permission to facilitate those students on to do their exams, and the colleges with the limited resources, they have implemented the guidelines as per the Ministry of Health and Wellness for students coming onto the campuses, and the students are aware of those.
Right. I've got about 2 minutes to go. Everton Rattray, I'm a little bit concerned. You representing the president of the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students, because I detect, I may be wrong, that there are some high stress levels among the student population at the moment. Yeah?
Yes,
What do you need?
in fact-
What do you need to assist the students?
Absolutely, I really appreciate you making that. As the president of the Jamaica Tertiary Students, I've had the opportunity to engage with a lot of students. One of the things I can absolutely say to you right now, not even just before I even address that, it's one of the things that we are actually calling on the government to regulate the work and travel industry. There's an absolute need for the regulation of the work and travel industry to assist with, to notify us in terms of what agencies are certified, and also as a means of also controlling the refund policies. We're having a very big difficulty at this moment with refunding of work and travel funds, because the policies that are set up by these various agencies stipulates that there's no refund. That is something that we need to also be addressed. Apart from that, we're also asking that the government and institutions start to look at possibly trade agreements that may result in the government offsetting the utility costs for the various institutions, water or electricity, as a means of them in return waiving some of the costs that might have been affiliated with some of the degree programs, might be as it might be a certain percentage of the tuition, or what might be the case.
All right. Because of time constraints, I can't take the others. I'll probably have you join me on the hotline so we can explore that some more, because there are a lot of issues simmering. Dr. Damien Black, regulations. Are you going to be tweaking some of your regulations governing the tertiary institutions with the new normal, as they call it?
Certainly, the issue of institutional resilience, as was mentioned.
Yes.
Risk management, preparing and looking at issues and challenges that arise from the environment.
Yes.
That is one area that we will be emphasizing.
Time is up on me. Last question for the two professors. Colin Giles, firstly, with online platforms being the big thing going forward, are you going to be dropping fees for tuition for students then? Yes or no?
There are no plans to reduce the tuition fees.
Why not?
Not be increasing them.
That's it.
What about you, Professor Weber? We're not talking about not increasing. Are you intending to drop them?
No, we're not. In fact, it costs more to go online on the first part. Then you can drop perhaps later on. But to get there, it's going to cost more to actually get it ready.
I have to explore that, because I don't understand. You're not using AC, your physical plant not under any stress. So in another program, I have to understand how it's going to cost more to go online when it's one flat fee for internet.
We have a whole campus dedicated to that. Open campus.
We're out of time.
Capital investment.
We're out of time. Can I thank you all, Dr. Damien Black, Professor Colin Giles. We'll pick it up after Professor Dale Weber, Everton Rattray, Dr. Donna Powell Wilson, Shelley Gaycoff. That's all the time we have for this town hall. We know that there are some untouched issues, and we will try to follow up on those. Can I thank my production team for this program? Look forward to having your company again. Have a good evening.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for
COVID-19 has significantly affected tertiary education. Universities and colleges have been adjusting to new ways of teaching.